of the second month. Groundhog Day, as we learned, is a silly holiday. Silly means not serious. For example, this boy is very silly. When he is speaking, he doesn't say anything serious. Clowns are silly. Sometimes I am silly. If it helps you learn English, I will be silly. So, here is the story of Groundhog Day. If the groundhog sees his shadow, there will be 6 more weeks of winter. This means a long winter. If the groundhog does not see his shadow, winter will end soon. There will be a short winter. Punxsutawney Phil in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania is the most famous groundhog in the United States, but Buckeye Chuck is the most famous one in Ohio. We had a question in class which was how many miles are between Ohio and Pennsylvania? The answer to this question is 0. Ohio and Pennsylvania are states. They touch each other, which means there's no space between them. There's a border, but no space between. How much distance is between Ohio and Pennsylvania? None. This is another way to ask the same question. Now, if you want to know how many miles are between Columbus, Ohio, and Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, these are 2 cities. They are far from each other. How many miles are between Columbus and Punxsutawney? 263. We also did some writing and editing in class. Remember, when we do this activity, I want you to make minimal changes. Minimal means the smallest possible changes. Here are our most common errors. Try to work on these when you're writing. Tense. Should you write in the past tense, present tense, another tense? Word order. For example, adjectives. In English, we say a blue car, not a car, blue. Other languages do it differently, so it makes it a little bit difficult if you're learning English. Punctuation, commas, and periods. For example, in English, a sentence can have subject, verb, object, and another subject, verb, object sometimes is a new sentence, so you may need a period. Double check. It is possible to join 2 clauses with words like because or and or but. If you don't have these words, maybe you need a period and start a new sentence. Number is another common error. Using the singular or using the plural, we're going to see lots of these. For example, we might say, I know many person. Many person? No, many people. Person is singular, many means plural. Articles, these are easy to leave off. A, un, the. These go before nouns. Not every noun, but many nouns. And finally, subject-verb agreement. So, in English, we have to make sure the subject and the verb agree. You're using the right verb. The hardest one in English is he, she, and it. In that case, many verbs need S. So we say he uses a pencil, not he use a pencil. This is difficult. So, ready to try some? Let's look at our examples. Number 1. I don't like watching football in general, but watched yesterday football with my husband. There are a few ways we can change this, but here's one of them. I don't like watching football in general, but I watched football with my husband yesterday. So here we need to make sure we have a subject for this verb, and yesterday needs to be moved. We can move it to the end of the second clause, or we can move it to the beginning of the second clause, and here we're using but to join the 2 clauses. So you could say, I don't like watching football in general, but yesterday I watched football with my husband. Now, are there other places we can put yesterday? Well, you might put yesterday after I watched football, yesterday with my husband, but with my husband probably needs to join I watched football more closely. It's the indirect object. So this one, not a great answer. Not a great answer. Number 2, some scientists have done study about football. Here we're missing an article. Some scientists have done a study about football. We say because there are many studies, and this is one of many studies. These scientists did a study. Other scientists did a study. Ohio State scientists did a study. Michigan scientists did a study. Okay? So if there are more than one of them in the world, usually we use a study. Now, after we identify the study, we then use the. The study about football is very interesting. But the first time we mention it, usually we need a, if there's more than one in the world. It's also possible to say some scientists have done studies about football. If we say studies, we don't need an article. But the article we read on Newzilla only talked about one study. So this is correct, but the grammar with this one is okay too. Now notice, have done. What tense is this? Have done is the present perfect. Okay? For example, she has studied. Another example. When we have plus the past participle, that makes the perfect. If have is in the past tense, like had done, this is the past perfect. For example, she had studied at her university before she came to Ohio State. Now, to make the future perfect, we just put have in the future by adding will. Will have done. This is the future perfect. She will have studied for 5 years by the time she graduates. Another example, passing your driving test. Here is the same sentence, but in present perfect and simple past. So you could say, I have passed my driving test. Present perfect. You could say, I passed my driving test last year. Simple past. Notice the difference. Usually we use simple past if we're talking about a completed action, a finished action in the past at a specific time. If we're talking about something in the past, but the time is not important, often we use the present perfect. For example, if you want to borrow my truck, I need to know if you have passed your driving test. I don't care when, last week, last month, last year, as long as you have passed your driving test before you borrow my truck. So this past participle, done, past, some students know this as verb 3. So eat, ate, eaten. I have eaten a sandwich. Do, did, done. I have done a study with some scientists. Study, studied, studied. We have studied together before. Eaten, done, and studied are the past participle. When you have plus the past participle, that is how you make the perfect. Moving on. Scientists said to study need more evidence. Here we change this to scientists said that the study needs more evidence. Okay, so the study is like it. He, she, or it, remember, S. Now, the structure was a little bit confusing. Notice the study is like a subject. Needs is a verb. More evidence is an object. So all of this is a clause. It's a noun clause because it's acting like a noun, which is the object of the main clause. Scientists, subject, said, verb, and all of this is the object. The object has a subject, verb, and object. We call this a noun clause. Number 4, they will do this study for a large sample to prove this results. Here, we have to change our preposition. They will do this study with a large sample, not for, with, to prove these results. Here, it's a number problem. These results, because results are plural. This results, singular. Number 5. So here is the test belongs scientists. Now we have to change the spelling. We have a little spelling error. And then there were a few different ways we could change this. But the first one we did was so this test belongs to scientists. Now, could we change this, the scientists and the test? Could we say so scientists belong to this test? Maybe, but usually a thing belongs to a person. So a test belongs to scientists? Yes. The scientists belong to the test? Maybe strange. Here is the test that belongs to the scientists. Yes, here is the test. So this belongs to scientists is actually part of an adjective clause. So really, we started with two sentences. Here is the test. The test belongs to the scientists. Because the test and the test are the same thing, we can replace the test with that and use that belongs to the scientists as an adjective clause to describe the test. Here's the test. Which test? The test that belongs to the scientists. This is a clause because it has a subject, verb, and, some object stuff. Okay. Number 6. This test is testing their memory. That scientists can tell them wrong words need they to return. We've got a few different problems here. First of all, this is singular and tests is plural. So we could change it to these tests are. Are, again, the plural verb that goes with the plural subject. These tests are testing their memory. Here we need a period and start a new sentence, which means a capital. The scientists tell them some words that they need to repeat. Okay? Repeat is a better verb than return here. Now, another way to change this would be to change test to singular. This test is testing their memory. So this is singular, test is singular, is the singular verb. This is possible, but you must change something. This tests is? No. These tests are, or this test is. Now also notice that they need to repeat. This is another adjective clause. And let's look at it down below. So here again, we started with two sentences. The scientists tell them some words. They need to repeat some words. Okay? Notice we have some words and some words. Because these are the same, we can make an adjective clause. So we replace some words with that. This is our pronoun. That needs to move to the front of this clause. This is our new adjective clause. So the scientists tell them some words. Which words? Words that they need to repeat. This adjective clause is describing the words. These are a little tricky, but we did a nice job. Number 7, they read some words, then people repeat it, and after 15 ask them again. Okay, a few things we need to fix up. First, they read. I know this is confusing, but the verb is spelled this way. And notice it's spelled the same way for all three forms, but the pronunciation is different. In the present, read. In the past, read. The past participle, read. Read, read, read. Same spelling, different pronunciation. So, they read some words, then people repeated them. Why them? Words, many words. Not it, them, because there are multiple words, plural. And after 15 what? 15 minutes, they asked them again. This verb needs a subject. Number 8, scientists think 12 ages as the cutoff age. This is a little bit difficult with talking about age, but often we just use the number. Scientists think that 12 is the cutoff age. This needs to be a verb. Scientists chose 12 as the cutoff age. This is also possible. Notice that with this verb, think, we can have a noun clause again. Subject, verb, object. And all of this is the object of the main clause. Subject, verb, object. So with think and say, these verbs often have a noun clause. Number 9, its first team players was ages for 41 to 65. There are many ways we can change this. The first team was ages 41 to 65. Notice, in the United States, team is singular, right? In British English, they say were. In American English, we say was. One team. Yes, a team has many people, but it's one team, so we count it as singular. Also, the first team's age was about 41 to 65. So here we're using the possessive, the team's age, the age that belongs to the team. We could also just say their. Okay, their age was about 41 to 65. Here we're replacing players with a pronoun, their. Okay, and again, plural. The players were ages 41 to 65 is another way, or the first team's players were ages 41 to 65. These are all possible answers. The last one, for the first team in America in the game kicked football, there are many ways you could change this to make it a correct sentence. One way is America's team kicks a football in the game. Possible. So we're using possessive, right? Whose team? America's team. Or America's team kicks the football in the game. Here the question is, a football, are there many footballs? Or the football, there's one football. We had some discussion about this. In a football game, they have many balls. So you could say the team kicks a football, and if they lose it, they have another football. You could also say the football because they only play with one football at a time, so it's a specific football. Both of these are possible answers. Notice too that America is the noun, American is the adjective, and also the word we used for people. An American person is an American. Another way we can change it is the first team in America kicks a football in the game. That's a possible sentence. Or they kick the football in the game. These are all good sentences. So, great work. Good job changing your sentences. I hope you had a happy Groundhog Day, and thanks for listening.